and CEO for the Briscoe Western Art Museum. I want to thank you for being with us this afternoon for a conversation with Chuck Middlekauff. Chuck is an artist working out of Austin, Texas today. He works in a contemporary style and is included in our temporary exhibition on the second floor called Into a New West, Contemporary Art from the Booth Museum. Over the course of a few years now, the Briscoe Museum has been really looking at all of the contours of what we would think of as Western art. Western art really breaks down into two styles or types of art. One is traditional in the style of Charles Russell or Frederick Remington or some of the other great artists of the American West. It tends to be more romantic, more realistic, sometimes documentary, and trying to capture an earlier time and period in American history. And then in the 1960s, and it in different places it starts a little bit earlier, and the date is really arguable. But we've chosen to really look at the 1960s as the period when contemporary Western art really comes into its own. And contemporary art uses lots of different styles. It's not traditional, is one way to describe it, but it can be modern, it can be abstract, it can be expressionist, it can be photorealistic. There's Faubism, there's regionalism. One of the, I think, defining factors in contemporary art is that stylistically there can be, 50 different styles, right? Hundreds of different styles. So and what holds the two together, I think the first main ingredient is the landscape, the Western lands. The American West is a really unique place geographically. And then subject-wise, some of the subjects and the themes remain constant from traditional to contemporary: cowboys, Native Americans, wildlife, landscape, those types of things. So in the current exhibition, we decided to look at contemporary Western artists. We have about 45 works from different artists included in the exhibit, and we've looking at the Institute of American Indian Arts that was formed in 1962 as kind of the pivot point or the starting point for the emergence of what we would look at as contemporary Western art. These were young Native American artists who were doing weaving and pottery and basket making for what would have been known, what we know as the tourist trade, through the Fred Harvey companies, through the Santa Fe Railway, through different kinds of outlets. And there was a moment in the early 60s where these young artists were encouraged to move beyond the traditional and to adopt modernism and abstraction and new forms. And the Institute of American Indian Arts formed in Santa Fe to really try to encourage that new style. And in the wake of that, or perhaps simultaneously with it, I don't know that I would, and we're going to ask Chuck here in a minute about the different influences for individual artists. There was something in the air in the 1960s where things were changing. And there was this opportunity to continue to do Western art, but do it in new forms. And Chuck really emerges from that period. Welcome, please, everyone, Chuck Middlekauff.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. For whatever reason you came out.
Tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be an artist.
Okay. I've been an artist for about 27 years professionally in galleries, but I started earlier than that, training and studying art. And so in 1992, I started professionally showing in galleries. And I was born in 1948, Massachusetts. My dad was in the Air Force, so I was an Air Force brat. We traveled, he was in for 30 years, and we traveled around the world and the United States, and had a lot of experiences traveling, and got that one with us, the travel bug, that my wife and I still share today. We travel and get inspired for my artwork. And joined the Navy after high school in the 60s. Vietnam War was on. I didn't want to go in the Army. I always wanted to be in the Navy because we were in Hawaii when I was about 10 years old. saw the sailors at Pearl Harbor, and I always said I like the uniforms. I said one day I want to be in the Navy. So I wasn't a Dodge driver, and I would have gone to Vietnam if they taken me in the Army or whatever it was. But before Vietnam, I was already going to the Navy. So my dad was in the Air Force, and I had enough of that. So that was 4 years there, and I got out and went back to Austin. My dad retired in Austin. And I met Carol. We moved to Colorado, Los Angeles. So I went to Metropolitan State College, and majored in art. And then I went to Art Institute in Colorado, commercial art, 2 years there. So I did commercial art because I didn't think I'd make a living being a fine artist. So, even though that was my dream, I didn't have a subject matter style. So I did commercial art for 4 years in Denver and LA. Got burned out on that. Wanted to do my own thing. During that time, I was still studying artists and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I stepped out in 1992. Went through the 80s. And then in 92, I approached the galleries and got in there. And that's looking back, it's been forward, up and down, not just steady. Artist life is it's a weird life. Art is weird, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's up and down, feast or famine. But it's something I love, and I've tried to give up many times. And Carol was my cheerleader, kept me going. And I couldn't do anything else. One day you're saying, what a bummer. An hour later, you get a phone call saying you made a sale. And yeah, I love art. And then they say I hate it. So I said, hate, love, kind of a curse and a blessing at the same time. But I wouldn't have it any other way. If it was just a steady paycheck, I don't think it would be as interesting or adventurous. So I think it's fun.
Chuck, do you remember that moment when you decided to give up your day job and become a full-time fine artist? And what did Carol say when
she's always been behind me. She's always had more confidence in me than I have in myself. I thought I was a hack. I still am. I appreciate every sale I make, and I know I'm a hack. There's so much. I'm a garage band artist, and I'm also a symphony artist. But it appeals to some people, and they buy it, and that's all I'm looking for. People.
What was that moment like?
I hated working. People directing me, the art directors, and creative directors, and the egos there. And I just decided it just got burned out. They wouldn't just take my ideas, and that's what I was about, ideas. And so I just got burned out. And so I got to quit. I got to pursue the fine art. And Carol says, go ahead. She was working support me in the meantime. I said, thank you. And I just went for it, and she helped me. She marketed and called. She got me in so many galleries I was afraid to even ask her. I'd walk in and said, don't say anything, Carol. We're just looking around. And she said, can I help you? Yeah, my husband's an artist, started to sell, and I said, be quiet. And she started talking, nothing like that. So she's been a great help. She's been my cheerleader and my spokesman. She wasn't my art coordinator. So it wasn't hard to make that decision.
And so that was in the early 90s?
Late 80s.
Right. And so back in those days, what did your first portfolio look like? What was the first style and technique that you jumped into?
Nelson Bourne was my inspiration. I saw the work.
Nelson Bourne?
Yeah. Because I was thinking about, my sister had some boots and cowboy stuff, and I was starting to do it, but it wasn't doing the style.
Sure.
And then I was also saying, well, would this be marketable? And then I saw him in Southwest Art Magazine, and I was like, wow, he's doing it, so maybe I can do it. And that was the starting point. I learned, I studied his work, and got to know how to do watercolors and things.
Really tightly focused boots and hats, and what were some of your early paintings like?
Close-ups of boots, and just like that, similar, and cowboys.
So this style here is more...
Yeah, I started out doing that, but just watercolor.
Watercolors,
None of the other stuff. Pure. And just learning, but it was similar to his, the same genre, but it was different also. And because no artist can paint the same, because they're not copying each other exactly. So it was different enough to fit into some galleries, and then there was a jumping off point. He went this far, I want to go further. But he's my inspiration. Among other artists, I'll do whichever artist at the time.
And do you paint today in watercolors, or what is your medium today?
A combination of acrylic and watercolor.
Combination of acrylic.
And mixed up. I put marker on there to color pencils, whatever it takes to get it that way.
Well, this piece is kind of your iconic Chuck Middlekauff character, right? Mm-hmm. Your alter ego, maybe?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think so.
Tell us a little bit about this piece and about your comment. About your cowboy, or about your...
Okay, let's see. So I don't like the trying to get rid of Remington and Charles Russell, historical. I'm not trying to document the history of the cowboy. And I'm not into roundups and ranchers and things like that. So I like the casual cowboy in between his chores and just hanging out, resting. And what inspired me originally was I ran into two cowboys that were bucking out their trailer, the horse trailer, a car wash near 7-Eleven. They came out with chili dogs and Coke and M&Ms, and I went over and started talking to them because I was an artist. I took a few pictures of them. And they were telling me about being a cowboy and that they were just like me as a kid. They had serious real catalogs. They ordered their toys for Christmas, and I thought they were just all about having horses, you know, and cowboy hats for Christmas and boots and things like that. But they enjoyed playing with yo-yos and toys like I had, and they eat the same food. You know, still chew tobacco and eat barbecue. They're eating chili dogs and other ones. So I said, that's fun. So I'm not locked into that cowboys have that horrible lifestyle of just being a typical cowboy. They do fun things. So I started putting fun things in my art with my cowboy. And so this is my style with the red shirt, red jacket, white hat, kind of like the Marlboro cowboy or the James Dean cowboy. And inspired by Hollywood and the movies, the TV serial, The Lone Ranger and Roy Rogers and all that. So a lot of that background inspired me. But now I just do casual, sitting around, doing whatever they're doing, their heads down. I go to rodeos and take candid shots of guys sitting on the rails, fence, their heads down. And then I put them into a situation here, and then I put the background. I don't know what the concept's going to be until I start doing it. I'll put the cowboy there, and I'll say, then I'll put the Coca-Cola logo back there. This is called Pop Goes to the West. But you have Cowboy to the West, and then you have Pop, playing with the word Pop with Coca-Cola, and also the pop art imagery. And then I've been doing this for about, I used to do murals. Have a mural you'd be leaning against the wall. So I'd have paint spatter on there and some kind of imagery to play out, make a fun out of a twist or something. And with the title also. And then I put paint spots on the wall so it's realistic. That's why murals are. They start fading and inspired. And so then recently, I always lay my paintings on the table. I don't do them on the easel. And so I have my paint materials. I love paint and I love the materials, not just have painting, but I love the process of painting and the materials and the tools. And so I was looking at it one day, and I had everything start building up as I'm painting. I put my pencil down, put my brush down, and scoot them off all the time. And I said, why don't I just do as a theme a painting of a painting in progress? So this is my painting. Sometimes I'll leave parts of it undone and tools laying there. And I'm always going out with my brushes and ending up with, I have to wipe up everything. So I decided I'm not going to wipe it up anymore, just let it be part of the art form. And it made it more exciting, and I was also playing rock and roll music, 60s music, and that energized me to paint. So I was trying to it's kind of dull just doing the blues or cowboy by itself, so I said, let me just spatter this, get the energy into the music, and put it into my art. So it's more exciting, it's multi-layered, you have to look more at it, look through it, and everything. And so I just started doing that just because I wanted to, and it excited me, and visually, because art is just visual stimulation for me. I want to connect with that. So I'm talking too fast. So basically, I just did, and just to get that pop flavor into it, the Warhol inspiration and everything.
So this is a painting of a painting in progress.
Yeah, that's what I look at.
And you start with sketches with the pencil that you
I
have
project
there?
from a photograph, outline it, and then fill it all in, and then start building it from there. And everything in clothing is watercolor, and then all hard objects in the paint is acrylic. So I learned initially I did watercolors only, and you had to frame it matte under glass. Then I found a way to seal it, watercolor so it won't bleed, and then you can paint over it and not have to frame it. Because people are complaining about the glare and the windows and southwest homes. And so now, because the watercolor gives a softer blend when you do the folds of the clothing, and then the hard objects, signs or brushes, the acrylic is a hard edge. So then I seal it with acrylic polymer and varnish it. That's what it turns out. So it's just fun. That's all, I just do what I want to do. I think every artist should do that, instead of looking for what's popular and trying to follow that trend just to make sales.
I don't think I'm aware of other artists who use watercolor and acrylic.
It's mixed media, but I think they do. Yeah. I don't know if they've learned how to seal it, though.
Right, so yeah, it's got to be interesting to do that. And it brings some vibrancy in the watercolor, really
Right.
allows you to.
When you varnish it also, with the glossy varnish, it really pops it. So it's weird to some people, you know, but that's okay.
Well, it's very fresh, very contemporary.
But I want to show the process of the painting,
Right.
and the tools I use.
I like that. It gives you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes
Exactly.
Perspective. Now, your piece upstairs in the Into a New West exhibition is Pioneer Motel, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that piece and that kind of genre, more of the travel narrative or nostalgic looks at.
And that's 10 years ago. So I've progressed my subject and my style over the years, with most artists do, unless they get locked in. That's the worst thing to do, is get locked in, especially when it's marketable. The galleries make kind of force it, pigeonholing it. We're selling this, so I keep doing it, don't expand. That's the worst thing artists can do. They can get caught into that commercialism. And that's why I got out of commercial art.
Sure.
Okay, I don't want to talk about it. Flashbacks.
But did you
Anyway, that's
did you have kind of a period of motel sign period?
Yeah, well, I started with the boots, and then the cowboy, and then at the same time I started doing motel signs too, and toys, and just anything Americana, anything that was from my childhood. I painted a lot. If you look at my website, you can see how it's developed over years, the different subjects and style. And so that one was, we traveled Route 66, and all these signs had fallen down, so we take pictures of them and I paint them. Not to document them historically, but because they're an art form themselves. Other artists have designed those signs and painted them. So I just love the colors and all the plastic today and the LED lighting. It's not the same. I love the old arrows and the blinking lights and the real big cowboys that attract your attention, the Indian TV, motels, and things like that. So, because I traveled during that generation of the 60s.
A lot of those neon signs and the art installations that occurred along the roadsides really got started in the 1930s. It was part of a government program during the Depression to encourage automobile tourists to go west and see these national parks, especially, but attract the spots like the posters that you see around us here. And in fact, a couple of things motivated that. 1936-37 was the first time that large corporations began to give their employees 2-week paid vacations. So oftentimes when you start a job today, you get this 2-week vacation that comes with your employment. And in those days, when it was brand new, it was almost simultaneously that automobiles got to be affordable, where a working person could own a car and then get 2 weeks paid, and the road trip became the classic thing to do, right? You spend a week driving to California from Chicago or wherever you might start, or you might go the other way, depending on where you're living, and then you get there and you turn around and drive back. And so that was a whole era, right, in American history. You grew up as part of that era with your family traveling across the country.
Right, duty station or duty station. Yeah.
Your dad was in the Air Force, so
yeah. Every 3 years, picked up and moved. So. And I got that travel book. Can't stay home anymore. So we've always had apartments, and we're always on the road. And that's what's great about the gallery business. You're always either delivering or picking up art. So business and pleasure at the same time.
Now, do you travel today with RV or?
No, there's a Buick. Buick, yeah. We put about 20 paintings in there in the trunk, the back seat, right? And our luggage fits in there perfectly, like a puzzle. Pretty cool.
And so, do you continue to paint in that style too, or have you kind of left that?
Yeah, I do. Haven't lately because I got into this, and now I can't stop spattering. So I can't go back to what I did up there. You know, it's hard to go back. So when you get a commission, somebody says, "Oh, I like this old style. Can you do something like that?" It's kind of hard to get inspired to do it. Because I'm just moving forward. I don't know what I'll do next, but this is what I've been doing for the last year and a half, and it's just fun. And even my motels, I got some. If you look at my website, I've done motels like that, but it's got the partially done, and then you get the brushes and the spatter, and it just makes it more interesting. I like to look at it more than I did just having a static science in there. Right? I learned how to do that now, and then I just expanded, and it's just more contemporary.
So So pop art is on sometimes how your work is labeled. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What inspired you to get into the pop art form?
When I was going to college for art, I didn't have a degree, I didn't know what I wanted to be, so it took me 6 years to get out of a 4-year college. Because I just took all the electives, took everything, trying to figure out what I wanted to be, and then finally, I don't know what I want to be, you know. And so, this is at 30 years old, you know, 24, I'm sorry, 24 to 30. And finally, I got so many credits that I don't apply to anything, so I took a drawing course in elective. I wasn't really an artist as a young kid, I just doodled things, but I took an art course, drawing 101. There was an instructor, that professor, and he was an artist, and he did some fun stuff, and I liked his work, and he inspired me. Just a little bit of work I did in his class, he said, "You have some potential." I said, "Maybe I'll pursue art." So I finished out my degree in fine art, and went on to art school, commercial art, and got more conceptual and idea kind of things, and put those two things together, and because the advertising and kind of promotional work, graphic design plays into this also. And so he inspired me, and so here I am, an artist. I never thought I'd be, but you know how you fall into things that are unplanned. I'm sure all you've had those times in your life, and it just went from there. Just growing, look at studying everything, studying Warhol, studying Southwest art in the 70s, all the contemporary artists, Bill Shane, Don House, Nichols, everyone that I loved. I didn't like the traditional stuff. I was always looking for some fun thing, colorful, and then that's what inspired me. And I just kept going. You just have to keep going no matter what happens to you. It's scary, but it's also an adventure. Because you can't go anywhere else. And I realized I was an artist of art, so can't give it up.
So tell us a little bit about your day. Are you an early riser? Do you work in the morning? Do you stay up late, or not very?
Yeah, varies. I had a Ford Stingray, 75. Stingray, I was in there most of the time. Now I got a Camaro, and so that's my man cave, and I get out and I think and get inspired. So it's all, I get my projects done, but I have my own hours. I don't really sit at an easel or a table for 12 hours straight. You know, one day I might take a week off and then come back and work for a week straight. And it's like I have a Santa Fe show coming up in September, and I'm working on 15 paintings for that. I'm about halfway through, and it seems so far away because in December let's have a show in September. So I got plenty of time. Now it's getting close, 2 months, and I said, well, I'll get it done because I pace myself. Because that's what I did learn in commercial art, is to pace yourself and get the projects done. So, but I like to have fun too. I know it's all in the work. One thing I'm grateful for, that I don't have a lot of sales, that I have to stay busy all the time. I have so many commissions, and they're selling so fast that you don't have any free time. Because I want a life also. I wanted to hang with Carol,
right?
Because it's an isolated profession. You know, because you're in your studio, you can't share with anybody. And Carol's in writing in her computer and marketing for me. She's in one bedroom, and I've taken over the living room, the dining room, the studio. I have a one-room apartment, 760 square feet, and it's cool. It's just right for us, and we survive. But we're in different rooms. We can still hear each other. We have the music going, but it's still isolated. You don't get to visit because. So I want that visiting time. And then trips to the galleries give us time to be a week on the road or whatever, and just spend time with.
So if you're doing 15 pieces for a Santa Fe show, what's your gallery there?
Victory Contemporary.
Victory Contemporary. So do
Victory.
you? Oh, really?
Yeah, he invited me to be in one of those.
Well, he's also another fantastic contemporary artist.
And he picked me to be in his gallery. It's kind of cool.
Oh, wow. His name is Poteet Victory, and he was in the commercial art world too, right? And then he moved over into fine art. Stylistically a little different than.
This is more abstract.
More abstract, yeah.
He's an Indian, Argentine. It's very cool.
He has a piece of show too. Yeah, he's also in the New West exhibit. So do you develop a theme for those 15 works? Are you working on a larger concept?
It's this file with the brushes, right? But it's a Western theme. It's got cowboys, and it's got some signage in it. And actually, this one's going in the Beatles. That'll be one of the things. So I'm mixing it up.
So tell us a little bit about where you're listening to the. What is that?
I always listen to the Beatles, the Beach Boys, and all that stuff. Yeah, this is, and then so I did this as a pop art thing, the graphic of the Beatles. You're all familiar with the Beatles, and I put the cowboy in there. He has to be in there. Okay, but it's smaller than regular. I usually make it into a prominent piece.
Right.
So it could be like a mural on the wall. It's got a cowboy standing in front of it. Okay, And then I saw, when I looked at I had the Beatles in there, and I saw the black part of their hair, then I realized there was a shape of a Coke bottle, subliminal. And so I said, I want to paint that red and put a Coke bottle in. And so I haven't titled it yet, because it's hard coming up with a unique, fun title for this piece. And then I did the splats, and I left part of it undone. And so it's just a fun piece. So that's what the direction. I have one brush up there I haven't finished yet. I just have to put paint on the brush. So you can see how I do that and how it starts out. And so I'm doing that. So music theme, movie theme, travel theme, and just cowboy theme. So a lot of stuff.
Marilyn Monroe. Were you listening to the Beatles when you were doing this?
Yeah. All the 60s we do, and 50s, yeah.
And that looks a little bit like an album cover, right? Or
yeah, that's from their Hard Day's Night.
Hard Day's Night, okay.
But Warhol did some Beatles. He does a lot of celebrities, and they have the squares like that.
Right,
so
right. So it has that.
Right.
Sure, that.
That was a jumping off point, and then I added to it to make it mine. So, yeah,
I have to ask you, with all the paintings, it looks like influence of Jackson Pollock.
that's what
He
somebody told me too.
died in '55, so.
Right, with the splatting of paint.
Yeah.
Except this didn't have any subject, it's just abstraction. So, yeah.
But
Somebody
you
told
do
me
the
that.
same.
Somebody told me that. Looks like it ran into Warhol, it ran into Pollock. He was at a party with Pollock and Warhol and some other artists. Yeah, so that was a fun piece there. And that is a Marilyn Monroe also. Cowboy.
And a similar form.
Yes, and the brushes. So I'll probably stick with this until I change. I don't know what's next. Because 20 years ago I didn't know what I'd be doing this. And then this one here, this is sort of a landscape. You got the desert landscape back here, some formations, and then you got the barbed wire fence and the post, which is of the west genre also. So this sort of landscape, and the Arizona license plate attached to it, and then you also have I put a baseball glove in there. It's called home plate. And because Cowboys play baseball too, they're in Little League as a rancher's kid.
Sure.
That's anything goes. That's what opened up my mind to do anything I wanted to do. So,
Are you a baseball fan?
no. So, just as a kid,
Sure.
throwing the ball around. So, and let's see. And then that one. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Then the one on the top there, that's called Feeling Groovy, and that's kind of like a flower power thing. It's got a peace sign. You know those old bathtub stickers. That used to be those flower things with curtains.
Sure.
Very 60s, 70s, and then he's just chilling out and feeling groovy. I try to play on my titles, but have fun with titles that have a visual at the same time.
That one reminded me of the old painted wood signs, like when the rodeo would come to town once a year, and the background. I didn't get the feeling groovy part of it, but I can see it now that I know the title.
Design. And then the one below that, that's sort of from the rodeo. I sit on the fence, I just took a picture of the boots and added the yo-yo. So most cowboys use a lariat, they do rope tricks, and that's called rope tricks, but playing with the yo-yo instead of the lariat. I didn't have fun with that. And I had yo-yos, we all had yo-yos when we were kids. So just trying to have fun, and I wish I could I had a hard time picking the ones to count. I wanted to bring all the ones I have at home, so you can see, but you can go to my website and enjoy all of them.
So will all these be in the?
No, just this one.
Just that one. Okay.
And I think maybe this one. I'm still working on it. Sometimes you can get a few weak ones at the end. Like you say, I can't do anything better than that. And all of a sudden you do something and you say, well, that's a joke. Throw it away.
So how many do you have done for the show?
I've got all 15 lined up, already started or have started or almost done. And I have July and August still.
Yeah, you got.
Right. We're going to go see Paul McCartney in Phoenix concert. First time to see him. He didn't get to see him when we were young, so he inspired this also.
Oh, great.
And either he's going to kick this on our bucket list. So he's either going to kick the bucket first, or I'm going to kick the bucket. So I've got to see each other before it happens. So, and we've been seeing John Mellencamp, the Beach Boys, and Peter Noon, Herman Stearns, and George Strait, all the ones that we haven't seen all our lives. Now we'll see them.
So music's a big influence.
Yeah, I play guitar. I'm a Fender guitar. So it's always been. I was in a garage band when I was a teenager. Yeah. Just fun. Have a fun youth. It's not the same with kids today, you know. So all the things, the toys, all the TV programs, the music, everything inspired me to do all these now, and hopefully connect with my generation before they take the money, or I do. So. But sales are great. The fans are great. You know, I'm not famous. I'm just an actor. I just do what I do and get enough essence into it. I guess that people appreciate what I do.
And you have how How many, you were in 3 galleries?
I'm in 2 now. Donna House Sickles invited me to be in her gallery. From St. Joe, Texas, which was an honor also. So that's like me in her gallery, or even Poteet's gallery. It's like incredible. So
Sounds like you've got some great artist friends that you.
I was in Legacy. I've been in like 70 galleries in 27 years.
Wow.
Because you come and go.
Yeah.
Some work out, some don't. It's weird. You go right across the street, you'll sell like crazy. You go over here and it won't sell. There's no rhyme or reason. It's an up and down business. People are kicking you out or bringing you out, and nobody knows what's going to happen until you get in there. You have to try it. That's the curse part of it. But then the blessing is when you connect and they do sell enough. It gives us a reason to travel when they kick us out or get us in. So can't complain.
What's in your camera now that you haven't?
Oh, I got stacks of photos from all the 27 years I still haven't got.
Do you have things that are inspiring you that you haven't quite gotten to yet in terms of painting, but it's kind of.
No, because I'm so excited about this right
So
now.
excited
Yeah.
about this, yeah.
Because when I hit on this, it like made my day. It's like, what did that come from? And I was afraid, but over the years I've talked to Carol, I said, some guys just want things floating on the canvas or something. That's not logical. I had to get out of that logic. Something had to make sense. And just go push the envelope and go beyond it. Who cares? Just do it. If it excites me, then that's what counts. If I gotta have fun doing it, and then hopefully somebody else identifies it and wants it to take on. So right now I'm doing this.
Ready for a couple questions from the audience?
Have I answered all the questions? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I have 2. What kind of watercolor do you use?
Windsor Newton.
In the tubes?
The small tubes.
Okay. And what kind of polymer sealer were you using?
On this, I do liquid text acrylics.
On the water.
You're an artist, aren't you?